It was supposed to be a regular day, just another closed-door meeting between Elon Musk and his team after the public fallout with Donald Trump. Cameras were off, security was tight, but no one expected XAA-12, Elon's usually quiet son, to step in, let alone speak. Elon had just dismissed a staffer and leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. Tension still clung to him like static electricity. That's when the door creaked open. "Dad," the boy said softly, standing at the edge of the room. All eyes turned. Elon blinked. "X, what are you doing here?" The boy didn't answer right away. He stepped forward slowly. His voice didn't tremble, but it carried weight far beyond his years. "I heard you and Mr. Trump had a fight," he said. "Is it true you called him a mistake?" A long silence stretched across the room like a bridge made of glass. Elon sat up straighter. "Who told you that?" X shrugged. "It doesn't matter. I just want to know." He hesitated. Then came the question that pierced deeper than any insult or headline. "Do you think you're better than him?" The room fell silent. And it wasn't just because of the question, but because everyone in that room had asked themselves the same thing, about someone, at some point. Elon didn't answer immediately. He looked at his son, really looked, and something in his expression softened. "I don't know," Elon said slowly. "Sometimes I think I am, and sometimes I hate that I do." There was vulnerability in his voice, the kind you don't hear on stage or in press releases. Just a father, stripped of power, unsure of how to answer the purest question he'd been asked in years. X sat down across from him. "Jesus said to love your enemies, right?" Elon's eyes narrowed. "Are you preaching to me now?" "No," the boy said with a half smile. "I'm asking if you still believe in love when it's hardest." And just like that, the conversation shifted. This wasn't about politics anymore, not about power or pride. This was about faith and forgiveness, and whether even the richest man on earth could learn to sit with the questions a child dares to ask. "Do you know what scares me?" X continued. "It's not your fight with him. It's that you look so angry, like you forgot who you are. Not Elon Musk, but a person." That hit hard. Even the tech advisors stopped typing. The boy's voice lowered. "Have you ever wondered what it would take to stop fighting and start listening?" The room was silent again, not with tension but with something deeper, conviction, curiosity, a crack forming in the wall of ego. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something greater. For a long time, Elon didn't speak. The silence between him and his son wasn't empty. It was alive, full of old beliefs, buried pride, and the kind of shame no man wants to admit in front of his child. What would it take to stop fighting and start listening? That question echoed in the corners of the room like a hymn, not loud, but impossible to forget. Elon finally leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. "I've listened to people my whole life," he said. "But listening doesn't always change the outcome." X tilted his head. "But has it ever changed you?" That one landed like a stone in still water. Elon blinked, slowly. Something inside him shifted. "I built rockets," he said quietly, "because I believed humans needed an escape plan. I created Tesla because I wanted the Earth to survive. I thought I was doing everything right, leading, innovating, disrupting. But somewhere along the way," he trailed off. "You stopped listening," X whispered. Elon didn't deny it. "Sometimes I feel like I'm in a storm I created," he admitted. "People expect me to be strong, decisive, always 5 steps ahead. But strength without softness is just control." The boy looked him in the eye. "You don't have to be a god, Dad, just a good man." That line, "You don't have to be a god, just a good man," landed like thunder. Some of the team turned away, eyes glossy. Others leaned forward, desperate to hear what Elon would say next. He took a deep breath. "I met Trump because I believed we could build something together," he confessed. "I saw potential, not politics. But when ego enters the room, love leaves, and I forgot that love was the whole point." Audience hooking question. Have you ever let ego speak louder than love and lost something you didn't realize mattered? The boy nodded. "Sometimes I think grown-ups forget. Even Jesus, who could have crushed his enemies, didn't. He chose love, he chose truth, and he still washed the feet of the man who betrayed him." Elon looked down. His voice, barely above a whisper, said, "I haven't prayed in a long time." X didn't flinch. Maybe now's the time. And in that moment, something sacred passed between father and son. Not judgment, not correction, just grace. Elon placed a hand on his chest. "Do you think it's too late to change?" "No," X said, smiling softly. "It's never too late when you start with humility." It wasn't a debate anymore. It was a return to softness, to purpose, to faith. Outside, the world still buzzed with opinions and outrage. But inside that room, something beautiful had begun. A man finding his way back, not to power, but to peace. The room had changed. What began as tension now felt like confession. Like the walls themselves were leaning in, listening to a father and son talk about things that most men never say aloud. X leaned back in his chair, still calm, still watching his dad, not with judgment, but with hope. "Do you think you're the only one who's scared?" the boy asked. "People look at you and think you have all the answers, but I think maybe you're just really good at hiding the questions." Elon smiled faintly, almost painfully. "You're smarter than I was at your age. I'm just asking the things I think God would want me to ask." That stopped Elon. Not because he disagreed, but because he knew he hadn't thought that way in years. "I used to believe," Elon admitted, "when I was younger, before all the chaos, before the spotlight. But belief doesn't survive well in the world I live in. Too many deals, too many wars, too much ambition." X leaned forward. "But belief isn't about success. It's about surrender." And that word, surrender, hit Elon harder than he expected. Have you ever been so strong for so long that surrender started to feel like weakness? The air in the room felt heavier now, not in a crushing way, but in a holy one, like something invisible was beginning to heal. "I've built empires," Elon said, "but I can't build peace, not in the world, and not in here." He tapped his chest, eyes misty. "That's not your job, Dad," X said softly. "That's God's." Those words, so simple, cut through decades of striving. Elon wasn't used to being comforted, especially by his own child. But this didn't feel like a lecture. It felt like Grace wearing sneakers and speaking truth through a young voice. "Do you know what Jesus said right before the world betrayed him?" X asked. Elon shook his head. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Even in pain, he chose mercy. He didn't need to be understood. He just needed to be surrendered. Elon closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt still. Not because he had figured everything out, but because he was finally admitting he hadn't. "I've been so angry," he whispered. "At Trump, at the media, at myself. I thought I had to fight to prove something. But maybe," X said, "you just need to let go." It wasn't advice, it was an invitation to peace, to humility, to remembering who you were before the world told you who you had to be. The door remained closed, but inside that room, something eternal was happening. One boy, one father, one conversation, and a crack of light beginning to form where power once blocked the sun. Elon stayed quiet for a while, eyes still closed. No one in the room moved. Even the assistants forgot about their phones. Everyone sensed it. Something sacred was unfolding, and it had nothing to do with politics. "People think I'm invincible," Elon said at last. "They see the interviews, the launches, the tweets, but they don't see the nights I wake up at 3 a.m. wondering if I'm just a glorified failure wearing a genius mask." X didn't flinch. He nodded gently. "I see it. You've carried the weight of the world for so long, Dad, but you were never meant to." Elon looked at him, eyes now red, voice rough with emotion. "Then who was?" X smiled. "The one who carried the cross." That moment split the air, like a curtain tearing between two worlds, one ruled by power and the other by truth. "You really believe that, don't you?" Elon asked. "With everything in me." A pause. Then Elon whispered, "I want to believe again, but I don't know how." That sentence cracked something open, not just in him, but in everyone listening. Because that's the truth so many bury under titles and success. What if belief isn't lost, just buried under everything we thought we had to become? X reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a folded note. He handed it to his father. Elon unfolded it. Inside, in the handwriting of a child just learning the world, but already carrying its wisdom, were the words, Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Jesus, Matthew 11:28. Tears filled Elon's eyes. I used to think rest was a weakness, he said. Like if I stopped moving, the world would collapse. But what if you're not holding up the world? X asked. What if it's been holding you all along, and you just didn't notice? Another silence, but this time it didn't feel heavy. It felt light. Elon exhaled, not just air, but years of pressure. I've been fighting the wrong battles, he said, trying to win arguments instead of healing hearts, including my own. X leaned in. Do you want to change that? Elon met his son's eyes. Yes, but I don't know where to start. Start with one thing, X said. Forgive him. A beat. Trump? X nodded. Not for him, for you. Forgiveness, the hardest command, the deepest release. Elon looked down again at the note. A tear slipped down his cheek and landed on the page. Okay, he said quietly. I forgive him. And in that moment, not a single building crumbled, no stocks crashed, no worlds ended. But a man's soul finally exhaled, and maybe, just maybe, that was the moment he truly became free. The room stayed quiet long after Elon said those words. I forgive him. No applause, no nods, just a sacred stillness, like heaven had leaned in to listen. I thought forgiveness would feel like defeat, Elon said slowly. Like I was letting go of power. X shook his head gently. Forgiveness isn't weakness, Dad. It's freedom. Elon breathed deeply, as if air felt new in his lungs. Then why is it so hard? X looked down, thoughtful. Because we think pain gives us control. But Jesus didn't control people. He healed them. Elon's jaw clenched for a moment. Do you think I've hurt people? Not on purpose, X replied. But maybe, by trying to save the world, you forgot how to love it. That one stung. Because it was true. Have you ever tried so hard to be great that you forgot how to be good? Elon stood up, walked over to the window, looked out at the city below, the same one he'd tried to reshape with innovation and speed. Sometimes I wonder if I've become what I once feared, he admitted. Disconnected, distant, all brilliance, no heart. X joined him. They stood side by side, father and son, looking out at a world spinning with noise. What if brilliance was never the goal? X asked. What if it's just a tool, and the real goal is love? Elon turned to his son. Why do you talk like this? X smiled. Because I watch, I listen, and because I pray. That admission didn't feel awkward, it felt grounding. You pray? Elon asked softly. Every night, even when I don't understand everything, I talk to God like he's listening, because he is. Elon's voice lowered. Can you show me how? And just like that, the most powerful man in the room wasn't the billionaire. It was the boy with faith. X nodded. He gently took his dad's hand, and in a voice that trembled only slightly, he began, God, thank you for this moment. Thank you for my dad. Help him feel your peace. Help him remember who he is, not because of what he's built, but because you made him. And help us both forgive and love like you do. Elon didn't say a word. He just closed his eyes and let the warmth wash over him. It wasn't a boardroom moment. It wasn't a tech launch. It wasn't anything the world would ever headline. But it was real, and maybe more powerful than anything he'd ever created. I felt that, he said after a while. X looked up at him. That's because you didn't try to control it. You just let it in. Forgiveness, prayer, love, things money couldn't buy. But his son had offered them freely, and Elon, for once in his life, didn't need to understand them to receive them. He just needed to believe. The meeting had long since ended. Staff quietly stepped out, giving father and son the room, not just physically, but spiritually. Something was happening they couldn't measure, but they knew it was bigger than business. Elon sat back down. X stayed standing. He looked at his father, the man who had built companies that touched the stars, and said the words that truly mattered. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to be present. Elon nodded slowly. All this time, I thought legacy was what I left behind in metal and code. X pointed to his heart. Legacy isn't what you build. It's what you leave behind in people. What if your greatest invention isn't technology, but transformation? Elon leaned forward. You've changed me. Not with data, not with logic, but with love. That's what Jesus did, X said quietly. He didn't come to win debates. He came to win hearts. For a moment, Elon just stared at his son, the boy he'd tried to protect from the chaos of fame, now guiding him through the storm with nothing but truth and gentleness. What do I do next? Elon asked. I can't undo the past. I can't unsay the things I said to Trump or the people I've shut out. X shrugged. Then don't go backward. Go forward, differently. How? Call him. Elon raised an eyebrow. Trump? Not for politics, X said. For peace. Elon sighed. He may not listen. That's not your job, X said. Your job is to try, to lead by love, even when it cost you pride. That was the final test, the real breakthrough. Elon reached for his phone, hesitated, then set it down. I'll do it, he said, but first I want to do something I haven't done in years. X tilted his head. What's that? Elon looked up. His voice cracked as he said, I want to pray. No spotlight, no cameras. Just a man finally bowing, not in defeat but in surrender. And as he closed his eyes, he whispered words that were raw, honest, and holy. God, I don't know how to do this. I've led missions to Mars, but I've lost direction on Earth. I've chased greatness, but I'm tired. Help me be the kind of father you are, the kind of man you designed me to be. I don't want power anymore. I want peace. I want you. When he opened his eyes, X was smiling. You don't have to figure it all out today, the boy said. Just take the next step. And Elon did. He picked up the phone. But more importantly, he picked up his purpose. Not as a CEO, not as a public figure, but as a man learning, maybe for the first time, that love is the only thing worth leading with. Because in the end, the fight wasn't with Trump. It was with pride. And the moment he surrendered it, everything changed.